So far, I think Mr. Custer just joined us.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I wore my cold winter sweater for our session here, so it felt like appropriate today.
It is freezing outside.
It's not good. It's not good at all.
Not at all. I was just explaining to Treasurer, she was asking me a little bit about like the interview process so far.
Yeah.
So I was just about to tell her that it's been like super cool. Basically, we've been learning through like our sessions with Professor Custer, like unique ways to reach out to people, which that's something we're going to go over tonight a little bit about how to like different strategies to reach out to people. But all my interviews have been over the phone so far. And really, I found these people through one woman who connected me to like 5 different authors. So you'll find like as you're interviewing people, like you're going to like make these awesome connections. So it's been awesome so far. But
yeah, it's cool. It's funny to see. And I think just on that note a little bit, I think people don't realize that. And one of the things I teach is this concept of like how to use generosity and social media to get people to say yes to things. And it is like a lot of people listen, social media has its negativeness, but it can, when used for good, connect us to interesting people. And so it's part of the whole trick of like building a list of people you want to connect with and then finding ways to sort of like over the course of this whole journey, get yourself connected to them. And it is funny, like some of the people you reach out to at the start of it won't get back to you for like 6 months. Right. Like it's weird, but like, I think Deanna's point is spot on. It is like this opportunity to have, I call it purposeful networking, which is like, you don't want to reach out to someone for like, hey, I want to do an informational interview to get a job. Like nobody wants to do that. Yeah. But if you can find a way to kind of use this in a way that's authentic, like, hey, I want to, do this for this book or whatever it is, makes it pretty powerful.
Right. Definitely.
Cool.
So yeah, we have 2 new people at our meeting today.
Awesome.
So this is kind of weird. I'm like spinning my computer around. Want to introduce yourself as Professor Custer?
Hey guys.
My name's Alexa.
Hi, Alexa.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to see you guys.
And then we have Caroline and Jenny.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Good to see you all. This is exciting.
Yeah. I'm trying to, okay, here, I'm going to like come around.
There we go. That's perfect.
I don't want to like have my computer like, yeah, you can sit at the head of the table here.
Oh, thank you. I feel very fancy now.
But yeah, we can go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint or whatever you had for us.
I could just, you can sort of share the PowerPoint. I think there's 2 things that I think you and I chatted about me talking about is so one thing that I'll talk about a little bit is I just sort of want to set the stage of what we're sort of diving into for this first month together and kind of like how to think about it. I always like to tell people at the start of this one is that this is a process designed to kind of give you sort of like guidance and like a process to be able to complete it, right? There's a reason that so few people finish publishing because they don't sort of like know where they should be or what they should be doing. So the process is designed to give you kind of guideposts and railings. In this first month, we're going to spend a bunch of time helping kind of do outreach and get you smarter about your topics so you have stuff to write on, and then we'll be writing stories, and then we'll be pulling into a manuscript. But what I like to tell people is there's like many paths to the same mountaintop. And that big mountaintop we want to get to is a first draft manuscript. So really between now and really like mid-June, that's the biggest thing that we're doing. So the one thing that I share to everyone who's starting this journey, and again, tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about kind of how to use the tools and some of the processes and things like that, where Deanna will show you how to get set up on Quip. The biggest thing that I think you should understand here about this is like, our goal over the next 20 weeks is not to create the next War and Peace. Right? We're just creating a mediocre first draft manuscript. Like people will say to me, how is it possible to create a book in 20 weeks, a good book in 20 weeks? And I was like, it's not, right? Like you're creating a mediocre first draft. That means you have something that we can make great. And so just as you are going through this one, don't feel pressured that this has to be great. The goal here is like to create something that's for me to be able to help you make great. That's the whole goal. I'm the only first reader of this first version of this one. So again, as you think about it, it's, some people get nervous. They're like these deadlines and the stuff, like it's never meant to be that way. It's meant to give you sort of a structure to know where you're going, but it truly like you could, keep on up, however you want to do it and still make this sort of thing work. So as I told Deanna, I started with a group of about, I think the number was with 24 students from 9 different campuses, started this journey with me in September. right? Because I sort of wanted to test this out, this sort of model. And they're all approaching different topics and everything like that. But here's the cool thing, like as of today, right? Like, so their manuscripts are going to be due at the end of February. So as of today, 23 of the 24 of them either have already been approved to be published or are on pace to publish, which is sort of cool to see, but everyone's sort of approaching it a little differently and know that case. So our big goal this first month is to help each of you try and schedule, 6 or so interviews. Would be awesome. You'll do more over the course of this one, but that's sort of the goal. Is we're going to help do a bunch of exercises to do that one. Deanne's going to get you set up on some of the tools so that I can help you in that process as well. But that's really the big goal here, is to get to that one. Now, so whatever you think about this case, if you ever sort of feel like out of sorts or whatever it is, please just message me. That's what, so you're going to set up Quip today. And literally my goal is to be a momentary resource if you have a question. I'm sort of always on for the most part, helping people coach through this one. But yeah, as you have questions, definitely let me know on that front. The other thing that Deanna kind of asked me to talk about a little bit is the concept of the publishing part of this one. And I'll just sort of give you some details on the publishing approach, because I think some people, well, how does this thing work? How does it, as I told sort of Deanna early on, for me over the last 15 months, more than 100 of my students have published, which is sort of crazy when you realize that only about 30 college students typically publish per year. So it's very unusual. And part of that is because we've really figured out a new way to basically make publishing accessible to more people. And so, I started to share a little bit of how that works. So again, generally speaking, what we're trying to do is help people, give people, knowing if they write a good book, that there's a path for them to publish. But people will do different things. There's no one path. Some people who go through this program will decide, listen, Eric, I'd love to take this and try and get an agent and go to a traditional publisher, which is great. I'm happy to help you do that one. Other people will decide, hey, listen, I think I want to try and self-publish this, which is great. The path that we've done for my students is really designed to sort of fit in the middle and kind of solve some of the big problems. And so the publisher that we sort of partner with is called New Degree Press. And really what they do is they have a very different approach to publishing that sort of solves the big problem for first-time authors. And so here's sort of the interesting thing, right? It's very difficult for you as a college student to get signed by a traditional book agent, by a traditional sort of book publisher, a big name publisher. And here's why. Sort of the way that they're basically trying to approach publishing is they're sort of, basically what they're saying is listen, I'm going to pick on Treasure here. They're going to look at Treasure and say, hey, listen, we have to believe that Treasure is going to sell at least 10,000 copies of her book in her first year. Because what they're sort of doing is they're making this sort of bet that's not really in Treasure's favor, but they're sort of going to do it anyways. And that is, they're going to basically say, listen, we're going to cover the upfront cost to take your manuscript and make it into a book. So that's going to include cover design. It's going to include deeper editorial, layouts, some of the marketing and things like that. So generally speaking, a publisher spends, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on a book to take it from a manuscript into a finished product. That's kind of what they do. Now, the way they make this work is they know that they're going to sell a bunch of copies of Treasure because Treasure has a big audience or whatever that is in that way. So what they're saying is basically, we're going to own the book and we're going to basically get paid first. So we're going to get our $20,000 back. And then we're going to basically keep most of the profits of it and give you a little bit. Now that works historically because authors didn't have a choice, right? So you basically had no choice and it worked in that favor. So when I went to these sort of traditional publishers and said, hey, listen, I've got these really great authors, would you publish them? Their answer was no. Mostly because none of them had a very big audience. And so that wasn't going to be an option for us to publish, which I get, right? I mean, listen, unless you're super famous, you have a big brand, whatever it is, you most likely are going to have a struggle to get a first-time publisher published to that one, unless you have some time. So our second approach, again, I had 16 authors that had publishable work. These were really people in the industry, these are good, they should be published, but I didn't have a place for them to go. So traditional publishing wasn't going to work. The second approach was self-publishing, which we looked at and saw maybe that was an option. Now, here's how that sort of worked in that way. It was basically kind of, you can go out and publish this yourself. The positive is that you don't have to report to anyone. You just publish it in that way. The downsides, there's two sort of downsides. Number one, you basically have to learn how to become a publisher. You have to find, an editor, you have to find a cover designer, you have to do these things. So there's that part of it. And the second part of it is you have to figure out basically how to pay for that. So the typical cost to sort of publish a self-published book is about $4,000. So the author has to come up with $4,000. So traditional publishing did not work for my student authors. Then I was like, hey, who has $4,000? And everyone looked at me like, what are you talking about? So we didn't have an approach to do that one. So we sort of came up with this interesting approach that is called the book starter. And it works with this publisher. So this publisher, New Degree Press, says, listen, Treasure, you have approved to have your book published. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically help you publish it in this sort of interesting way. So what they allow the author to do is basically, once they're sort of like, you have something that is approved, a first draft that is sort of publishable. And remember, like 23 of 24 students right now have that thing. What they'll do is they'll basically help you build a campaign to pre-sell your book. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to basically go out to family and friends and classmates and basically get them to sort of back your book. And what they're going to get for it is, you know, again, the joy of doing it, one part, but they may have their name listed in the inner part of the cover and all these things. The way that that sort of works is the publisher allows you to basically sell books early to cover the cost it's going to take to transition from a manuscript into a finished book. The nice part about this whole thing is, number one, like so far, parents and grandparents are super stoked to back their kids' books and do this sort of thing. So the idea here is that the authors, to publish their sort of their paperback book and their ebook, the cost that they have to sort of pre-sell is about $3,000, $3,500 worth of it. Now, Deanna asked me the question in this question, like, so, you know, is that possible? That seems like a lot of money. This is the true story. Because of the fact that people were able to sort of like get like so many people to support them, they actually started to raise more so they could do more things. So people started to raise more so they could do their audiobook. They started to raise more so they could do their paper or their sort of their hardback book. So that's kind of the whole option behind this whole thing. There's sort of, it's an interesting approach where there's no kind of risk to the author. If you raise the amount of funds you need, you basically continue forward. So if you raise $1,000, they'll design your cover. If you raise another $1,000, they'll do the editorial and that sort of stuff. So what it does is it basically allows you to just pre-sell your book, and assuming that people in your network are interested in it, again, usually it's family, friends, classmates, you go forward and sort of publish in that way. So that's sort of the cool part about it, is it is sort of this splits the difference. You have a publisher. That publisher, though, doesn't own any of the book. You own all of it. And basically, as you go out and pre-sell, you cover the cost to make your book from a manuscript into a physical book. And then from there, you own 100% of the book. So sort of the way it works in that regard. But if you can't, you just don't, right? There's no downside to do it. But again, we've not seen that to be a problem. In fact, we've seen the reverse. You know, I have some sort of content that I provide to people who are starting the process, like Jacqueline DeGregorio, one of my first authors. She raised $21,000 from doing her book starter. So she's using that to do a startup related to it. So it is just a tool to enable the author to do it. You would already sell your book already, right? You go out and try to sell your book. Now you just sell it earlier before it's fully done, and you sort of pre-sell that stuff to sort of fund the book. So anyway, I thought, you know, Deanna was asking me some questions about how it worked. I don't know if that answers sort of covers what you wanted me to cover on that one, Deanna, but that's the model. The goal here is to get everyone to a place where they're publishable, and then there's this option. Again, there's sort of three options. Go the traditional route, try to get an agent, go through sort of the New Degree Press book starter route, or self-publish. All of which are great. Like, my goal is just to help more people publish. So far, most of the authors have chosen to go the sort of New Degree Press book starter route, just because it's a process, it works. It's, you know, again, sort of the best of all the worlds. But again, my goal is just to put you in a place where you have options. Does that help, Deanna?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. The world's a little complicated, but I think it's also to your benefit. What has happened really is this puts control in the author's hands. Like, that's the coolest part. Like, people always ask me, like, what do I do with my book? I'm like, don't sell the rights in it. Like, whatever you do, figure out a way to own your book, because that way you can have options. You can eventually do other things with it. You can do it and lots of different things you want to do with it, but put that in your hands. And I think this is sort of that interesting place where there's really I mean, I can't think of it. There's low downside to it. I mean, there's really no downside, right? Like, the worst case scenario is no one says that they want to buy your book, right? Okay, like there you go. That sucks, but that is what it is. And the upside is that you publish a great book and you wind up owning all the rights to it. That's why I love this for my students.
Gotcha. Does anyone have like any questions or anything? Awesome. Thank you for explaining that.
Of course. Yeah. So I guess tonight, the big thing, right, just to sort of to one last thing before I let you guys go and do this thing, really like a big part of this whole reason that it works is like there's a process and tools to do it. So you're going to get on Quip tonight. It's going to get all set up in it. That is a way that like the best way to communicate with me. So if you're ever like, hey, Eric, I'm thinking about changing my topic, or hey, Eric, I've got this question, or hey, I have this interview the next day. I think Deanna might have said that to me. I like, hey, I've got this interview. How should I prep for it? Just message me. Literally, like, it's like a way to chat back and forth. And like, I mean, if you see my screen, I have like 3 messages from people who have a question. So it's a way to like not get stuck. Like you always have someone to talk to. That's where you'll meet your editor, all these sorts of things that we'll do to make it work. But yeah, I'm super excited to run after this guy with you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. I'm very sorry that our meeting got cut short, but I want you guys to know that I appreciate you guys for coming out to the library or joining us through Zoom. Sorry to you guys on Zoom, Treasure and Alexis. The sound was off. It was just kind of chaotic. But that being said, I'm just kind of send you guys this portion of the video as well as everything that Mr. Custer said, just to keep it more organized and keep it more concise. But so basically this week's session is it's called week 0, and it's basically the onboarding and pre-work session. So most of you guys got set up on Quip tonight, which was super exciting. Caroline, I'm going to reach out to Mr. Custer and Brian and just see if they're able to help with the technical difficulties that you were having with Quip. But I'm glad that we're all on there. And I am going to continue showing you guys the video of the instructions on just how to maneuver around there and set up all your files for your books. So like, for example, you're going to have a file that just kind of helps you keep track of all your interviews, another file that keeps you on track with like stories that you're writing called your story index. So all of this is just going to be super helpful, and it's also going to be a great way for us to communicate. And if you guys ever have a question or anything, just feel free to quip me or email me, whatever. I can also quip you guys my phone number. So all that to say, I'm going to continue showing you guys the video that Brian was conducting about Quip. I'm going to pick it up where we left off. Or actually, since you guys who are on Zoom, you weren't able to see the first portion of the video, which I can now see rewatching what I recorded before. So I'm super sorry about that. I'm going to start the video from the top, and feel free to fast forward since we watched this together. And you guys are all set up on Zoom, but I'm just going to start it from the top so you guys can all see everything. But yes, all right, let me go to share screen. And here we go.
All right, everybody. So this video here is all about getting set up on Quip, the platform that you'll be using here over the next several months. So without further ado, this video is about getting set up on that platform. I'll explain things tactically and both in terms of what documents are used for, as well as actually how to use them and as well as we go through here. So things are going to be super tactical and super done live here on the spot. So without further ado, who am I? Because you might asking yourself that question. So for anybody asking that question, who's this lovely gentleman here before you in this video? My name is Brian Beast, and I am the head of publishing for I volunteer my time here with Creator Institute in the Creator Institute New Degree Press partnership, and I will be helping you get set up on Quip here today. I've done this dozens of times with your president here. I help them get set up on Quip most of the time, probably looking at my phone as I was explaining it. I've gotten so good with Quip that I can tell you how to get set up on it without even looking at the screen. So without further ado, I'm going to be getting you set up on Quip, and so first things first, I'm going to share my screen here on Zoom. And okay, so first things first, getting set up on Quip. What is Quip? The simple answer to that is, I'm sure everybody here has heard of Google Drive, and I'm sure everybody here has heard of either Facebook Messenger, Slack, or any chat messaging platform that exists. If Google Drive and Slack, Facebook Messenger, a chat messenger, got married and had a baby, it would be Quip. And I know that sounds like a weird metaphor, but bear with me, it works. Here's why. Everything you can do on Google Drive, from collaborating on documents to documents automatically saving every 5 seconds, to commenting on documents, to working on documents together at the same time, all of the things you can do on Google Drive, you can do on Quip. Chat messenger. Everything you can do with a chat messenger, you can do on Quip. You can at people. That's what typically people will say by tagging people. Oh, when you hear that one. So you can at people, you can chat with people. It's all about communication too. So anything you can do on either of those two types of platforms, you can do on Quip. And if you know that, your life just got a hell of a lot easier. And that's why I explain it in that perspective, because Quip is nothing new. It just does what Google Drive and a chat messenger combined do really well. And that's why the metaphor of having a baby works real well. So first things first, what I want everyone to do is make sure that they have Quip downloaded to their phone and to their laptop. So what you will be doing sounds super obvious, but I'm going to be explaining everything in this tactical depth throughout this video. So feel free to just ignore me if you're a tech genius or you're a tech god. But for everybody else in the room, I got you. I got your back. So what you want to do is you want to download the desktop app, because Quip has an app for both your laptop and your phone. Whether it's iPhone, Android, Samsung, whatever phone you have, there's an app for it. So what you want to do is download both apps. So to download the first one, the desktop app, you'll want to type into Google, Quip desktop download. Open up Safari, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, whatever. Go to Google, type into the search bar, Quip desktop download. And lo and behold, it will be the first link that you go to. Quip, introducing Quip desktop. You'll click on the link, and then it'll bring you to this page. You'll then click download Quip. Go ahead, download, install Quip now. Presidents, feel free to pause the video and re-explain anything I've just said for anybody who's finding it difficult to open up their internet browser and get set and download Quip to their desktop. All right, now that Quip is downloaded to your desktop, you're now going to download it to your phone. So if you have an iPhone, go to the App Store. If you have an Android, you have a Samsung, whatever phone you have, you can go to the App Store and download it. So for example, going into the App Store, App Store on my phone here, type into it Quip. I don't know if you can see on the screen there. Quip is the first one that pops up on the search results. You'll just install it. So install that one to your phone right now. And if anybody's struggling to download it to their phone, pause the video here to make sure everybody gets it downloaded to their phone as well. Now, everybody should have Quip downloaded to their desktop, on their laptop, and to their phone. If anybody doesn't, and you're still continuing on, pause the video now and make sure that's a thing. Because as you'll see, having Quip on your phone and on your laptop is a requirement. Trust me, I have worked with over 100 plus authors on the publishing side at this point. And I've worked with even more on this first part of the journey here. And if you do not have Quip downloaded to your phone and to your laptop, your life will be a pain in the ass. So just make sure it's downloaded and you'll be all set. So now that that is done and that is clear, and it's downloaded to both your phone and to your laptop, you'll then open up Quip. Quip has Google integration. So if you have a Gmail account or your .edu, your university email is through Gmail. So for example, I went to Georgetown, and Georgetown's email service provider was Gmail. Some people have Outlook, some people have Yahoo, but a lot of people have Gmail as their overarching service provider for their email. So you can just use your like Google login info once you actually create an account. Like that'll make your life easier. But you may not actually, you won't automatically be added to this folder just by simply downloading Quip. Your president has to invite you to the folder. How does your president invite you to the folder? How does president get invited to the folder? Get you invited to the folder? Well, you'll click in the handy dandy right hand corner, this blue share button. You'll click share. And then whenever it decides to load here, 1 second, I'm gonna pause the video until it's ready to load. Now it's ready to load. You'll see you click on the blue share button. You'll then click add people.
And guys, I shared this with everybody. So if you were, I know Caroline, we were still having some issues with her, your account, but if you have not been added to the folder or you can't see it, just let me know and I'll try to re-add you and we could try to figure that out.
Search bar pops up. For everybody here in the room that needs to be invited into your club's folder, you'll just go into, you'll just type in johnsmith@gmail.com, whatever their person's email is. So make sure everybody gets invited to Quip there by adding their name and then clicking down here at the bottom right of this pop-up window, the blue share button again, and it will invite them. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video here to make sure everybody here in the room is invited to your school's Creator Community folder on Quip so you can actually get set up here. Because otherwise that defeats the whole purpose of this session. All right, now that everybody is invited to the folder here, we're now actually going to tactically get set up. So first things first, you should see these 4 things.
So this is kind of where we cut off on this session. So I would just definitely recommend paying attention here because this is all new information that we kind of had to get cut off at. So
folder. Your book idea, book office hours, session materials, and author materials. There may be other things in the folder, but these are the 4 things that really matter for you at the moment. So pay attention to these ones here. So the first one is your book idea. Everyone should go into your book idea right now. And when you go into it, what you will all do, as you'll see in a quick second here, is you will all fill in your book idea. All right, so I've actually already filled out an example here to make your lives easier in terms of what you should fill out. But what you want to fill in are these first 4 columns. Columns A, B, C, and D. Column A with your name. Column B with your current working title. By no means has to be finalized as the title you will actually publish with. I guarantee you, you will change your title. As the head of publishing for New Degree Press, I can say from experience, at the time of the recording of this video, I published my 99th book with New Degree Press as the head of publishing back at the end of November. Only 3 of those people have kept like their title from start to end. Everybody else has changed it. So odds are it's going to change. So you'll put in your working title. You'll then add a brief description of your topic. So that way, everyone knows what it is. And then lastly, you'll include a generic list of the types of people you want to interview. What I mean by that is, to give you an example, let's say you're writing a book on sports. What you would then say in this list is you want to interview basketball players, coaches, general managers of teams, venture capitalists, recruiters, so on and so forth, the generic types of people. If you're writing a book on physics, you'll put in this list here, physicists, scientists, college students, whomever it is that fits your generic list. In this list, you don't need to put names like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, the generic role and type of person, as you'll see in a quick second. So everyone should go in, pick a row in descending order. First person gets row 2, second person gets row 3, row 4, and so on and so forth till the end. So everybody here has a row. You'll fill in your name, your working title, brief description of your topic, and a generic list of the types of people you would like to interview. Pause the video here so everyone can do that. Okay, now that everyone has that filled in, why do we have you do this? Couple of reasons. One, we want to know and remember and clearly see for the entire creator community at your school to know of what exactly you're working on. Because that way you have a central spot for remembering it, and so that way we can remember it too. 2, you all are working on very cool and inspirational things. I highly encourage you to go back through this document here, this dashboard, and see what you all are working on. As you'll see, the topics are pretty cool. For some of you, if you haven't yet had a topic chat with Eric, some of these things may just say TBD. Once you know your topic, you'll go back in and fill it and update it.
And for those of you guys who are new and haven't had your topic chat with Eric yet, I'm going to explain to you guys the instructions on that and send you the link in order for you guys to do that.
That way everybody can see what it is. 3, all of you are incredibly smart and well connected, more connected than you all give yourself credit for. So, from the smart perspective, all of you are smart and talented. You may come across someone's topic, and you may have come across a really cool article that you think that person should take a look at, or you know someone who'd be really cool for them to talk to, or maybe you have a perspective that they should consider or think about. You have a question sparked by the topic that you want to make sure that they think about. Whatever it may be, what you can do is leave a comment by saying insert comment, and it'll pop up with an option to say comments, and you'll just type it. And what you'll do is you'll say at their name, I know person X, you should totally talk to them. Or what do you think of this cool article? And then the link to the article, or whatever it may be. Help each other out. You all know people. You just don't realize. Use this as a structured, clear way to help each other out. You will be surprised by the power of doing so. So knowing that, take full advantage of each other. We're all collaborators and conspirators on this great journey that we're on right now. So take advantage of it. Now that you've done that, you'll in the top left corner click the back arrow, and you'll click on book office hours. So in here, you are going to keep track of the office hours that you will spend working on your book every week. We call it book office hours because this is your personal commitment to yourself to work on your book every week. And we recommend that you spend 3 or so hours working on your book every week. 3 to 4, 3, depending on your schedule. But about 3 or so hours working on your book every week. And we recommend that you break those 3 hours up into 1 hour chunks. So it's not overwhelming, so it's doable, so it's tactical. And as you'll see, if you're spending those 3 hours and you make it super tactical and you're doing the things that we outline here, you'll find that the time goes by real fast. You're accomplishing a lot in the process. So what you want to do is take a row, put your name, and then add the 3 to 4 or so hours that you plan to spend on your work, on your book every week on your own time. Also, please include the time zone because not everyone is necessarily from the same time zone. Eric is working with a number of different clubs from across the country, a couple of which outside of the United States, and time zone is important to keep in mind. So please include the time zone as well as the day of the week and the actual hour slot that you pick. But pick whatever times work best for you in your schedule. If you're a morning person and like weekends, great. If you're evenings and a night owl, like 1 to 3 a.m. is like your prime time, put it in. I don't really care. But put in those 3 hours. Pause the video here so everyone can do that. All right, so now that you've done that, why do we have you do this? Why do we have you make this personal commitment to yourself in such a public way? Couple of reasons. One, as you'll see, by making it a public commitment to yourself, you're actually forcing yourself through peer pressure to actually stick to the time. Because odds are, if A, you didn't even pick a time, and B, you didn't make it public, so that way everybody else in your creator community knew about it, you wouldn't actually spend the time doing it. If you're going to be creating a book, you should actually spend the time to do it. So we want to force you to do it. And I mean that in a positive sense, not like we're forcing you. But if this is a book tied to your passion and to your purpose, you'll want to be spending it. So you want to set yourself up for success every chance you get. This is the way to do that. 2, Eric may want to chat with you, or your developmental editor, who we'll talk about more later, may want to chat with you or connect with you. These are times that you are publicly declaring to the world that you are going to work on your book. And since Quip is the platform where you will be working on your book, you are therefore saying, feel free to reach out to me on Quip during one of these times. That's likely when I will be active. 3, you may look through this dashboard here once it's all filled in and see, oh, looks like Jane Sue there. It looks like John Smith has the same times as me on Mondays. Maybe we should like collaborate and like do like a work session together. Could be really cool. Take advantage of those opportunities when they come up. But again, this is your personal commitment to yourself that you'll be working on your book every week. And we recommend that it's in about 3 hours or so every week, 3 to 4 hours, and there are 1 hour time chunks. Now that that's done, click the back arrow at the top. And what you will then do is, 1 second, go into the author materials folder. So go into the author materials folder. So everybody gets their own folder, their own home base to work on everything related to their book. So what we're going to do now here is we're going to create your folder, all of the things that go inside it, so that way you can hit the ground running over the next week here. So this part here, before we actually do any creating and actually doing, I want to be really clear. Listen to what I say and then do it. It'll solve a lot of confusion that way. I've done a lot of Quip setup before for a lot of different people, and it will make your life a million times easier if you just listen and then do. Knowing that, in the top right corner, next to the blue share button, in the right corner, there's a pen notepad icon looking symbol here. And it's called Compose. What you'll do is you will click Compose, and you will click New Folder. And you are going to name this folder your first and last name, and then in parentheses, your school's name, which is listed on the folder here, so you can actually know what it is, whether it's, typically it's the acronym of your school's name or just the first word of it. So I wouldn't say Georgetown University, I would just say Georgetown. So Brian B's, your name, first and last name, parentheses, school name, and then Jan 19th, as you can see. Feel free to pick whatever color you would like. Now that you've done that, you will then create 3 new subfolders in this one. So pause the video here to make sure everybody has their own folder called first, last name, or first name, last name, parentheses, school name, J19. It's important that it stays organized like that because there, I guarantee you, going to be more than one John, more than one Jane, more than one Rachel, more than one Brian. Whatever your name is, there's going to be more than one of you, likely, if it's a common enough name. So from an organizational standpoint, make your life easy and follow the nomenclature. Okay, now that you have a folder created, you'll then in the top right, inside the folder that you just created here, you'll click in the top right corner, compose again, and you'll click new folder, and you're gonna call this folder Get Smart, and then in parentheses, your first and last name. Because what you're declaring here is that this is Brian Bees' Get Smart folder. This is John Smith's Get Smart folder. This is Jane Sue's Get Smart folder, right? So Get Smart, and then in parentheses, your first and last name. Then you'll hit Create. And then you'll click in the top left corner, the back arrow. So that way the next folder you create can be placed right next to it. Now that that folder is created, you'll then click in the top right corner again, Compose, and you'll call this one Create Stories, and then in parentheses, your first and last name. Almost like there's a method to the madness here, as you'll see. And then the last one, again, backing out of the Create Stories folder, so that way the next one can be right next to it, is you're going to call this one Create Manuscript, and in parentheses, your first and last name. So, at this point, you should have 3 folders created. Get Smart, parentheses, your name. Create Stories, parentheses, your name. Create Manuscript, parentheses, your name. It's important that it has your first and last name on it, because I guarantee you there's more than one Brian out there, there's more than one Jane out there, more than one John out there. So keep your life organized and keep it clean. So now that that is done, you're going to be super organized. I'll close it out in a quick minute here when I'm all done explaining why we've organized things in this way, but as you'll see, it'll keep you super clean and super organized. So now that you've done that, click again in the top left corner, the back arrow. Depending on how many folders are in your group's author materials folder, you may have to scroll, but considering the number of folders here in this folder, I don't have to. Go in the last folder in the lineup, see a folder called Templates. Click on that. Okay, so in here are 3 of the most powerful documents you will use over the next several months. The interview dashboard, the research dashboard, and the stories index. So what I'm going to do is explain each briefly so you know what each of them are and how to use them. And then in a minute, after I've explained all of them, you'll then go in and create copies of each. So for the time being, you can just leave your hands at your side and just listen along and follow along. The first one is the interview dashboard. This is comprised of 2 key parts. The first part is the bottom, where one of the big things you'll walk away with as a tactical thing to do after your topic chat with Eric, either if you had it yet or you haven't had it yet, is to create a list of 30 to 50 people you would like to interview for your book. So what you want to do, and to make your life tactical and easy from that standpoint, is to have a place to put all of those names. What you'll do in this bottom part in the interview targets list is put in their name, their social media, their email, their LinkedIn, their Twitter, if they were referred to you from a friend, family member, someone else. That way you can like remember who they are. And you'll also be able to check off if you connected with them on social media, if you've done outreach to them, if you followed up with them, if you've done a second follow-up, all of those things, so you know who they are and where you stand in your relationship building with them, as you'll see in the coming weeks here. And then the top part is where you'll keep track of the first 10 to 15 people that you actually interview in relation to your book. So we have found that the most on the new degree press side of things, as a publisher, a statistic I can share with you is really good books tend to have a lot of different people that they've interviewed, a lot of different voices and perspectives. Makes sense because good books have good knowledge and good insight. And the way you get insight is through people that you interview. So this is the way in which you'll be able to track the first 10 to 15 interviews that you actually do. Any ideas that come up in the conversation, any notes or things. If you end up recording the interview, you can put the recording in here so you can have it for future reference. And all of the things like that. So you want to keep track of all the people that you interview. From a tactical standpoint, this dashboard works really well. Also, from a how are you doing, or are you on track perspective, the more you keep this dashboard up to date, the better it is for us to see how you're doing. If you have nothing in here, we're going to assume that either you haven't done anything or you've been struggling. So the more you keep it up to date, even if it says John Smith trying to schedule, it'll just let us know where you stand in the process of it. Again, you'll know like you're not like you're doing fine, you're doing great, because you will. But it helps us know from a tracking standpoint all of that. The more you keep this one up to date. Second one is the research dashboard. The dashboard here is how you will actually compile all the research that you would like to do. So that way you're not just having things haphazard as bookmarks and 60 billion tabs open on Google Chrome or Safari or whatever your browser choice is. You can just put it in here and then refer back to it later when you actually want to do the research or write up or do a write-up of that article, of that study, of that video, that interview, whatever it is. So this is your dumping ground to put all of the research that you want to do and all that jazz. And the last one is the stories index. The stories index is how you will keep track of all the stories that you end up creating and writing over the next several months. And the reason we have this one is because once you start the create stories phase, about a month from now, you'll meet someone that we call your developmental editor. That is why you pay the club dues, because those go directly to your developmental editor here. And your developmental editor will work with you on honing your storytelling, on honing your writing ability, becoming a better storyteller, becoming a better writer. And the stories index is how you will keep track of all the stories that you create. So taking a step back, why have a developmental editor? Well, first and foremost, they help you become a better writer. So that's why. But two, in the context of the book world, a developmental editor's role, their job, is to help a writer, help an author, go from the ideation phase, if they have a topic, they have an idea that they want to write on, and help them turn that into a first draft manuscript. So the stories index here is how you'll be collaborating with them to stay organized, for them to get feedback on the stories and all these things. So the more you keep this one up to date, because they will exclusively look in here for the stories that they have to get feedback on, the more you can leverage that. So from a value of your club dues, keep this one up to date, and it will make your life way easier. Okay, so now that you know what the interview dashboard is, the research dashboard is, and the stories index is, we are now going to create copies of each and place those copies into your folder so you can use them. And I'm going to repeat it for every single one. So by the end of it, you're going to be sick of me. But everybody's going to know exactly how it's done. So the first one I want you to do is click on Template Interviews Dashboard. Now that you've done that, you will then click Document, Copy Document. I'm going to repeat that again. Document, Copy Document. Document, copy, document. You want to create a copy because everybody in your club, in your community, in your creator community here is going to be using this interview dashboard too. So create a copy of it and make your lives easier. So you'll then backspace the word copy out of it. So it'll then say template, interviews dashboard, school name, J19. Once, and remove the word copy. And then where it says the word template, you will replace it with your first and last name. So the title of the document should read your first and last name. So for me, Brian B's, colon, interviews dashboard, school name, J19, school name, J19 in parentheses. By default, it will say copy to private. You'll then hit copy. From there, you will then click in the top left corner, Document, move to Folder, move to another folder, and in the search bar that pops up, you'll type Get Smart and then your name. And then it will pop up, depending on how slow Quip would like to be. You'll then, when it pops up, click on your folder, click Share, because yes, you want to share it. That is saying you will move it into the document. And now it is in your folder. You'll then click the back arrow twice. You'll be brought back to this folder. Okay. Now that everyone has a copy of the interview dashboard in their Get Smart folder, let's do the research dashboard. We'll click on Template Research Dashboard. You'll click Document, Copy, Document. Document, copy document. Delete the word at the end that says copy. You'll then call it our first and last name, Brian B's research dashboard. Copy to private. You'll then click document. Move to folder. Move to another folder. In your name, Get Smart, folder pops up. And then you'll move it into that folder. Again, yes, you're good with sharing it into that folder. Click the back arrow twice. Now, click on Template Stories Index. This one might throw you for a loop, but instead of it saying document, it'll say spreadsheet. You'll click spreadsheet, copy spreadsheet, delete the word that says copy, and rename it to say your first and last name, colon, stories index, copy to private. You'll then say in the top left corner, spreadsheet, move to folder, move to another folder. Get smart, and then your name, and you move it into the Get Smart folder. You say, yes, I want to share it. So at this point, you now have copies of the interview dashboard, the research dashboard, and the stories index in your Get Smart folder. Again, they are copies. If for some reason someone did not create a copy before moving the document, pause the video here, assess what happened, move it back into the template, and then create a copy and move the copy from the private to the folder. Trying to keep it very straightforward here. There have been a couple times that I've gotten people set up, several times, where the reason I'm being as explicit as I am now, not to name any names or give anybody a hard time, but it does happen. So you'll say copy document, copy to private, move from private to the folder. If there's any confusion, rewatch these last couple of minutes in the video here to see what it is you should be doing. Now that that is done, you now have everything set up on Quip. You have your book idea in the dashboard. You have your office hours in that dashboard. You have your author materials folder set up with the Get Smart folder, the Create Stories folder, the Create Manuscript folder, and all of the things that go into the Get Smart folder of the interview dashboard, the research dashboard, and the stories index. Not only that, but you also have the app downloaded to your phone and to your laptop. You are now set up on Quip. So as you'll see here, to really close it all out, you now have everything you need to hit the ground running. All you have to do now is do the tactical weekly activities going forward. Now, why do we have structured everything here the way that we do? As you'll see, almost like we planned it this way, your Get Smart folder is where you'll start things. It's all about getting smart first. From there, you'll then take the smarts you have and you develop over the next bit here. You'll then turn those into stories. You'll then turn those stories into a manuscript. As you see, everything builds. So because everything builds, everything should happen in a specific folder based off the type of activity that it is. So you should never feel lost or disorganized or where something is, because you know what type of activity it was and what folder it should go into. Start by getting smart, and then create stories, and you create a manuscript. As you'll see, everything here is tactical. You either have a template here, or a tool and a resource here to get you set up in the form of a developmental editor, and so on and so forth with the other people on your team. So everything is now set up and ready to go. There should honestly be no questions about anything that I've explained thus far, because I've tactically shown how it is. So feel free to pause the video at these various points, or replay and rewatch other sections as they come up. Everything is straightforward. I've done this Quip setup hundreds of times at this point, in all honesty. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to just direct them to your president, and then your president will direct them to me if they don't have the answer to it. So without further ado, I'm excited for you all to be a part of this journey. I know this was not the most fun or engaging, aside from like just tactically doing the setup, but trust me, you now have momentum. It's now about capitalizing on this momentum and making the magical shit happen from here. As you'll see, so much is about to happen here. And as you'll see, it's super tactical along the way. So all you have to do is just tactically do and tactically execute, and the rest will follow. So hats off to you all for beginning the journey. If you need anything at all, let your president know. Your president will let me know, assuming Quip is not a platform you know anything about at this point, which you should. You are all now mini Quip experts. So with that, I will leave you all to it, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right, guys, so I know that was a ton of information, but like he said, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. And if I don't know, I will forward my questions to him and give you an answer as soon as I can. But so thank you guys for watching that. And let me pull up just the final things that we were supposed to mention in this week's session. Give me 1 second to pull that up. Okay, so watch the video. Hopefully everybody was able to follow along. All right, so our next step is going to be to introduce you guys to Lynn, who I mentioned, for those of you who were there. Lynn is kind of the TA of this program. Let me show you guys how to connect with her. All right, so what you're going to want to do, I'm going to share my screen with you so you see how to spell her name. Okay, share screen. There we go. Oh, okay, there we go. So Lynn Solaris. So basically what you're going to do on Quip is you're going to create a private message. You'll see on the side with the little chat thing. And you are going to say hi to Lynn. Her name, the spelling's right here. You just do the @ symbol and then start typing her name. Then you're going to say, I'm so-and-so, whatever your name is, and I'm an author at Liberty University, excited to be aboard. Please be sure to create my updates room. Thanks. So she's going to go ahead and create your updates room for you. All right, so just going through this. So I kind of mentioned this when in the meeting before, and Brian kind of mentioned this too. The first 4 weeks, we're going to really focus on the Get Smart stage, which you guys just created that folder, which will kind of make more sense now that you can actually see it. But so we're going to work on getting our interviews in, getting our stories, and working on research to kind of produce more stories. So I kind of mentioned this before, but we're going to work to schedule 6 to 8 primary interviews for your book this month. And like I said, that might sound like a lot, but it's really achievable. I've interviewed 5 people so far, so I'm still working on getting some more, but it's really achievable. And I'm going to show you guys some cool strategies to reach out to people that you might have never thought that you'd be able to talk to. So going through this, okay, we watched the video. You guys all hopefully introduced yourselves to Lynn. So yeah, you're going to work on building your interview list right now. Over these next couple of days, just kind of like compile a list of people that you would like to interview for your book. And they could be anyone from people that you know well to people that you don't know to people that are on high platforms. Just really, this is all about compiling a list of people that you'd like to interview. So yeah, your target is just to have like about a list of 40 people on your list for our next session. Yeah, you might say 40, that's a ton, but you want to go broader. Remember, you want 10 plus interviews. And if 25% say yes, that's 10. Okay, so your friendlies. Who are some people that you know already that would be willing to be interviewed and kind of help you with your book? So what is a friendly? Someone who will agree to do an interview with you without even knowing what the book's about. Can I interview you for my book? Sure. What's it about? Usually you engage with them through text message or email, and they typically respond quickly. I was able to do this. So I told you guys I'm writing my book about Christian writing, and I know a woman who is an author, so I was able to just text her real quick, and it was super easy. But if you don't have one, finding friendlies. Think of your friends, your family, coworkers, professors. There's tons of professors at Liberty. I've reached out to several who are willing to do an interview. Classmates. They may not be perfect for your book, but it's good to just have a start on your interviews. And they might not even be good for your book, but they might just help you in building your list and finding connections. So yeah, build your list. Who do you know already? Review your social media profiles. Look through your friends, people you're following. That's social media is always a helpful tool. So what you're going to want to do is just try to send at least 5 to 6 messages. That'll just kind of get you started with reaching out to people. And these are obviously to your friendlies. You want to start out by sending 5 to 6 messages to 5 or 6 different people that you know that might be able to help you in this process. Try to get at least 2+ conversations scheduled. But do not schedule the interview until our next session. So you can reach out to them, pick a date, but in the next session, we're going to talk about how to interview. So make sure you don't schedule the interview until after our next session. So we talked about that already. Yeah, so that's the whole slide. Yeah, so that's basically everything that I had for this session. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And to you guys who are new at this, I am going to send you a message on how to talk with Eric and kind of get your topic figured out. I'm also going to send you a link to a Google Drive that just kind of allows you to answer some questions that he has about regarding your book topic. You're going to want to do that before you talk to him. It'll kind of just help you with organizing your thoughts and really narrowing down a topic. But also to you guys who weren't at the info session, I'm going to send you a packet of information just so you have a better understanding of what this program is and what it entails. That is everything for tonight. And like I said, if you guys have any questions at any times, please don't hesitate to Slack me a message, not Slack, sorry, quit me a message, email me. We can meet in person, whatever works. And if you guys still know anybody else who would be interested in joining us, please let me know. This is going to be super fun, and I look forward to getting to know each of you and writing these books, which is going to be awesome. So thank you guys. Sorry again for our session getting cut off at the library and on Zoom, but I appreciate you guys. And like I said, let me know if you have any questions.